Carden started 9 years ago, and we're in downtown Guelph in our shared community event hub, servicing about 100 individuals and organizations, mostly working on social change projects in our community. We started mostly down the street from where we are now, and on the idea that there's tons of energy and enthusiasm in Guelph for all kinds of work to basically make the world and city a better places. But we were seeing that it was hard for people to access space, and it was just at the kind of start of the co-working movement. So we were super fortunate. We had a Trillium grant that let us do a feasibility study for 1 year on building the model. So how big does 10 Carden have to be to sustain? And then what kinds of buildings would be ideal for what we're looking at? And we had looked at maybe 10 buildings in downtown. We did some surveying too as well that basically was telling us that we needed to be in downtown Guelph, and so that gave us a really clear direction, and we were happy that the direction was that we needed to be in downtown. But we started looking at different buildings and then figuring out just with drawings and spreadsheets of space, people, meeting space, private office, co-working, how all of that could work together in a few different buildings, and that told us kind of what size. There's also a ton of research around co-working really only works well at 12,000 to 15,000 square feet. And there aren't a lot of buildings like this in that size available. This building wasn't available, but there was a few conversations happening where we kind of got wind of, the Ackers family might be thinking of selling the building. We're like, what? That would be amazing. The continual challenges are building towards sustainability, and a lot of it is financial. So in the early days, the whole project has been pretty largely bootstrapped, so it's like month to month, you kind of figure out, improvise. So those caused just a lot of challenges in not really clearly knowing what the next quarter would look like or what the next year would be. And then just always needing to plan for more resourcing at the same time as building community understanding and need. We've finally gotten to that part is now the rewarding part, in that everyone is thrilled at where we've expanded to, but the getting there was a fairly long process that was kind of built one person at a time. The financing of this project by a not-for-profit has been the bulk of the work and the stress and the challenges, and then also the learning, because finance is not our first language. It's community, collaboration, connecting, all of that stuff. So how to make that meaningful in financial documents was massive. So we had a board directors, our kind of staff team, a few different people, and then an RLB as our accounting advisor, our legal, architects, consultants, and fundraisers. And we basically drew on them for their areas of expertise, and also to help the board get to a concrete place together, and to kind of do that risk assessment piece with us, so that we would know when we're getting in over our heads. So I think the advisors helped us definitely with our confidence, and then knowledge in on the accounting side, it's putting statements together in a fashion we can put together our spreadsheets for how we're seeing it, but an accountant can obviously help us put it together in a fashion that everyone can read. Because so now our financial package has been looked at by probably 180 people. So it was nice to have something that you could confidently put out there. We had this pivotal meeting at the beginning, and all the mentors were there, the board was there. We had already spent 8 hours together going through a lot of the nuts and bolts. And we all did this go around at the end, and one of the board members asked the question of the advisors of, do you think we should take this on? Knowing what we know now, and the answer was unanimous, which was great, through our mentors and overall discussion. So we knew the purchase price and closing and we knew what we could do business-wise with co-working. We had some pretty decent projections based on our last 6 years, kind of, and then basically built out what we thought we could accomplish in the space, and had on the other side anticipated renovation costs. That was our single biggest all the advice of it's going to take twice as long and twice as much as you ever dream. It's 100% true. So right now we have, I think we're at 57%, our mortgage is 57% of the asset value or whatnot, which is kind of that ideal spot for projects to be in. So that's our first mortgage, and then we're financing the rest with community bonds and then donations and sponsorships and our own contributions through grants or a capital that either of the partners had up front. Yeah, and really this project is not here without community bonds. So community bonds are basically, they're structured as a second mortgage, so it gives local investors an ability to invest in a project that has an asset backing it and has social benefit work coming from it, and gives them a % of return. So it's like a GIC in that there is a secured piece. The initial kind of offering was to get founding investors to enable us to complete the purchase. So we had our first kind of series of bonds, and that raised $400,000, not fairly easily, but in hindsight, fairly easily. And right today we've raised about $1.1 million in community bonds, and our goal is like 1.325. So that number for us is like our ideal mix that lets us get to the end of the financing of a project that has had a lot of surprises. So those having those investors on board was amazing, and it actually helped incrementally bring that from like 3 to like 88 investors right now, which is amazing. Oh, what would I do differently? We would allow more time. We would build in, if we could, more ongoing mentorship so that we always had felt that we had a little bit more of a pool of people that we could be drawing on. Just reach out more often when we needed help. There's a reframing that's happening with not-for-profits and what we are. Carden's biggest service is that we harness the power of all the energy and enthusiasm that's here already, and we help people launch their things or help them be more efficient or help them feel more connected. So I think sometimes it feels like not-for-profits are asking for help, but they're really asking, like, in a way, for engagement and support. So I think what we're looking forward to in 2018 is having so many people into the space and engaging the community in all kinds of ways that we didn't even expect. But then also on the financial side, just like kind of proving the model a little. It's a mix of, this project is always a mix of community engagement and financial, and then also getting to like the big outcomes of things we're working on. So really looking forward to having those two pieces come together in reality versus the vision of the beginning of the project.